On Ticker, this is Import Export with Lawrence Christophels.
Cenusa from State Transport Logistics. Albert's here to talk about the increasing growth and the complexities of outsourcing warehousing logistics. Albert, thank you for joining us on our first show.
Well, good morning and thank you for inviting me, Lawrence, and good morning to all your viewers as well.
Great.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks, Albert. Look, it's I wanted to talk about outsourcing early in the piece as our very first guest, because it's a challenging situation with customer demands and fulfillment. So many companies in the past, a lot of bigger companies have evolved to outsourcing, but now even SMEs really want to tap into the benefits of having experts such as yourself.
Sure.
So, can I ask, what have you noticed in this space over the last couple of years?
Well, I've noticed there's certainly a hunger and a need. We find that manufacturers and importers are really good at selling their products or manufacturing their products, and they're looking for that additional skill set in order to manage their supply chain. And that skill set is hard learnt over many, many years, and their skills are in a certain specific area that's concerning their products. And this is a whole different skill set. So they come to us because we have the talent. We've been doing it for a long, long time. So they benefit from all of our many, many years. It's 30 years now we've been doing logistics supply chain work.
Yep.
So they're able to tap into that knowledge and that experience, and to a certain extent, they don't know what they don't know when it comes to logistics.
Well, I was going to ask about that. So what are the common mistakes that people make when they start the outsourcing journey?
Well, it's scoping out the right provider for their particular needs, and also ensuring that that provider has the technology that's going to match their needs, not only now but going to the future. So look for companies, my advice is to look for companies that are innovative and that have got the latest technology, and wherever they can automate they can. Paperless is obviously the best way to go, and to be able to have their systems interface, their production systems or the inventory systems interface with the 3PL, and that takes out all the human error of doing manual entries. So being able to streamline and get that automation happening is essential.
Well, that innovation piece, the technology piece, that's really the way consumers do business now. So it makes sense that businesses in the distribution and logistics space have to do business the same way and integrate with the way the consumers want to interact with them.
Sure, and we have clients in various stages of their maturity throughout their business. So we've dealt with a lot of startups, and they really enjoy dealing with companies that, to a certain extent, will help them through the process, because they don't know what's coming up in the future as their business grows. And because we deal with some very large companies, we're able to give them a network that allows them to step forward as their business grows as well, without having to make any changes to the distribution providers such as ourselves.
Sure.
So it's the tech, the skill, that knowledge and experience that we built up over many, many years. They enjoy that and are able to piggyback on the back of that. But it's also about the relationship as well. They need to be able to speak and work out problems, because as businesses are growing, issues occur through their own production and manufacturing or importing, and to be able to react quickly, they need to be with a provider that's able to react to them and their needs as they occur in real time.
And I think that reactivity, the ability to react quickly and be agile in your supply chain, with fluctuations in data and fluctuations in volume coming through as well, it's really important. I think there's also been an increased compliance aspect of running your own warehouse or your transport fleet. So if I'm an SME, importer, exporter, if I'm trying to focus on developing the product, getting the product made, shipping the product over, and then have to be an expert in warehousing and transport, distribution, you've got to wear a lot of hats.
You're absolutely right, Lawrence. So the compliancy, we have a whole department dedicated to compliancy, and particularly for companies from overseas, things are different here, and you need to be compliant with that. But also have to have the certifications, where HACCP certified, dairy certified, organic certified now as well. So the clients, especially the smaller businesses, they get to enjoy that, and as they bring on new product lines, we can already accommodate them because we've already got all the certifications. So all that hard work has already been done, and they can focus best on selling their product, and people like us, the right sort of providers, can take all the pain and the thinking and the hassles out of it. And not only that, we problem solve as we go along, so it's seamless to the particular client to make their job and their journey as easy as possible. That's our role, to make it seamless for them.
And I think that the transition I've seen, and as you know, Albert, I've come from a little bit out of industry myself. There's been, again, a lot of the big boys, a lot of big players, global companies. They go to 3PLs and they have a lot of capacity and you can fill up a shed with a certain client. But the SMEs are really looking to piggyback on this expertise, and they set up, people like yourselves set up things like multi-user warehouses. So you can use the economies of scale of multiple companies and give them the same advantages that the big boys do.
Oh, absolutely, yes. So the cost benefits are there for them as well, and the infrastructure, as you say, we spread it over a larger footprint, so they get to enjoy the cost reduction in terms of, because the cost for them to invest in the infrastructure that we have, in the equipment and the staff is enormous. And theirs is worked down to a unit rate, so they can actually track it, and it's easier for them to manage their business and attribute costs to the logistics change to their final end product that they're going to have sold off out of the shop or wherever it may be sold.
And that's the thing. I think the other emerging trend is this last mile fulfillment and the outside of normal business hour delivery requirements as well. So there's so many stakeholders now that people have to interact with. You've got couriers, you've got transport companies, you've got warehouses. So your ability to interact with those companies.
It's fortunate, and we're very customer centric. So we've listened to what our customers are looking for. So we have become now the one-stop shop. I would love to think it was our great forward planning and so on, but it wasn't. It was really listening to our customers and reacting to what their needs are and what their wants. Often as a business you think what the client may want, but we actually listen to what they're telling us and we've reacted to that. So not only do we have a 3PL business, but the last mile, we have a large taxi truck fleet. So again, my advice to anyone that's looking for a 3PL logistics supplier, to ensure that they can not only do one portion of the job that needs to be done, but they can do all the various segments. And if they can do that and manage it for you, obviously the cost is maintained as well. And you've got one entity that's looking after the whole chain for you, and all the protocols are in place, and your products are being looked after. And we have a great company culture for that as well. So
I love what you said, Albert, about listening to the client and the customer. But how much do they don't know what they don't know? From a point of view of warehousing, distribution, they rely on that 30 years worth of expertise, because, again, especially taking them on a journey of innovation, saying, look, again, one of the benefits of being with other potential customers in a warehouse, a multi-user warehouse, is they get to see how the other half lives, so to speak.
Look, we were just recently very successful in and very appreciative that a company users selected us from Sydney. They were a beverage company, and they were looking at 6 different providers, and they're a small business, but there's exceptional growth moving forward, and they're talking hundreds and hundreds % of growth over the next few years, because their product is in a niche market that's going to absolutely mushroom. So we're very excited for them as well, and we're very pleased that they selected us. But part of their decision making was that they were looking for a business partner to begin with, someone that would partner with them. But as you just said, they don't know what they don't know, because they're small. They don't know what the future's going to look like and what the infrastructure they're going to need. And even from the basics of hiring the pallets, we're able to do that for our clients now as well. Managing their Shep and Loscombe pallets, their pallet control, which could be a huge cost to a business if they lose track of it. So we're doing that for them as well. But as you said, they don't know what they don't know. And they were looking for someone that would hold their hand, if you like, as an expression, through the process, and we'll offer them the training that they may need as well, in order to fulfil the best possible end result outcome, and that's delivering their product on time, in full, on every occasion, because they're going to be delivering to all the major DCs around Melbourne and around Australia.
Okay. Albert, I know you do a lot of food product and sensitive product, but in general, is there a common? You talked about you've evolved the business because of the companies, the customers. Is there a trend that you've seen coming through in the last 12 to 18 months that's new to you? The sort of different type of questions that they've thrown at you?
Look, the questions are generally pretty much the same. They want to know when stuff will be delivered. There's a window of picking and then dispatching it. But the only new thing that would have more over recent times is the transparency, being able to have the ability for their system to interact with our systems,
Right. Yep.
so they can access 24/7 the inventory, to know what their stock counts are, to know to coordinate that with their production or their imports as well,
Yep.
in order to ensure that the products are delivered in full on time to who their buyer,
Yep.
the end user is. So I'd say more prominent now would be definitely technology and using the latest tech to give them greater transparency and insight as to where their products are along, not just along with us, but along the whole supply chain at any given time.
Yeah, I agree with that totally. I think the companies that we see, throughout the events and all the sort of things that we do, is that they are really tightening their inventory management and their inventory control.
But that's dollars to them.
It's
That's
dollars,
money.
exactly,
That's money in the bank, and they want it to be there on the shelf so it can get sold, so they can replicate and then refill that. So
and they don't want too much of it; it's costing too much in storage.
So
either.
we would hold millions upon millions of dollars of inventory for various clients. So obviously they want to know where they are. We need to show that we've got it properly managed, the speed that you can do that and the easier you can make it. The interfaces need to be simple and very user friendly. So we've spent a lot of time developing that to make it an easy look into our system, so they always know where the inventory is at any given time.
Sure. And what are the if I'm going to ask you two questions. So if I put a hat on as an SME, I've never outsourced before.
Yes.
What advice would you give me if I'm saying, look, Albert, I'm thinking about outsourcing. I've got a little warehouse and I've got a couple of people running the shed for me. We outsource the deliveries. I'm thinking about it. I'm not quite sure. And then the second question to that is, if I'm a bigger company, multinational, and I say, look, all right, I'm considering changing my 3PL provider. What are the two sort of questions that you want to ask of each of those two type of very different maturity levels of companies?
Yeah, sure. Look, the smaller company is we always get them into our warehouse and show them through, so they get a bit of a visual of how the processes work, and often that generates a lot of questions for them. They didn't realise that this had to happen. They didn't realise in terms of the packaging, their own packaging, and how they present the goods to us, and what's involved if you're bringing goods out of a container and there are no pallets. They need to be put on, and there's a cost to all of those things. So we then map it out so they have a visual, and it's just a simple chart showing them all the various stages, and that then brings out a lot of questions and thought-provoking of what they need to think about moving forward, and that generally creates a great conversation. Right. Yeah. And then we can attribute costs to each portion of it, and then allows them to make a decision whether they want to do it themselves or would they prefer to outsource it to someone else who's already got the infrastructure in place. And our cost model invariably ends up being the better one in terms of cost for them, but also the skill set, having the technology immediately that they need, and being able to track it as they should want and desire for it to be looked after and handled as well. The larger operator, to the second part of your question, they're looking always for the technology and the transparency and how easily you can interface with their systems. The smaller SEMs have been working off Excel spreadsheets, perhaps haven't got that the interface requirement as yet, but moving forward, we have the technology. Should they have brought on their own software, we could interface. But the bigger ones are always looking for being able to automate, less involvement by people, but more through the systems interacting and doing the checks and balances are all happening every millisecond in the background.
There's a couple of things as an observer.
And the ability to grow as well. Sorry, the other part was the bigger ones as well, as with the smaller companies, is the ability now and in the future, do you have the capacity to still be looking after us in 2 or 3 or 5 years from now? So there's that also for me as a business and a business owner is exciting because I want to grow the business. So we're always we're currently looking for more and more space. We've got 4 warehouses would love to grow it to 6 or 10.
Sure.
So
Great.
yeah, so
Well,
being able to show the ability that you can grow with their business as well.
Well, I think the interesting part for me is that whether it's a small company or even probably more so with the bigger companies, when you look at their RFQs and you see what they're looking for in a 3PL provider, they will often don't look at the cost associated with that technology. So there is a major cost with the WMS and the TMS, and then there's a safety compliance point of view. That's a big cost to you guys to run these things.
Absolutely.
There's ongoing training, there's accreditation cost. So in many ways they're just looking at a storage rate and a pick rate, and those sort of things aren't the true cost. There's so many other things that even if they looked at their own ledger, if they said, okay, well, what does our true cost to run a warehouse entail?
These are all the added values.
It's not just racking and forklifts.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it's all that added value that we bring to the table that they get to see, and we always encourage, and I would again advise anyone that's looking at a provider, please make the effort, do go out and walk the premises, meet the staff, get the feel. It's I often, when I do speak to clients, I relate this story. Everyone. There's a famous Aussie movie, and just to get the vibe of the place, come in and get the vibe, and straight away, being on the premises, you'll get a feel and a visual. I mean, a picture speaks 1,000 words, so definitely go out and see the premises. But you'll get all those added benefits at perhaps no cost that you don't. So factor that in the overall assessment, as you pointed out. It's not just the pick rate, the carton rate,
or the pallet
wrap.
size,
Absolutely. It's all those added things that are thrown in that the client will benefit from.
Great, fantastic. Thanks so much, Albert. It's been a pleasure having you on the show, and we'll definitely have you on in the future as well, and talk about some specific case studies if you like as well. But been great to chat with you. Hopefully you and the audience have actually, the viewers have got some great advice and tips about what you need to look for. So thanks, Albert.
Thank you for having me. Much appreciated.
Have you back again soon.
Great, thank you.